Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Messy Success Podcast. I am your host, Elizabeth Henson. So excited to be here with you today. We have a super fun, sweet guest today, Ashley Freehan with the Purpose Gathering. Might sound a little familiar. I was on her podcast a couple years ago, and oh my gosh, her community was so incredible, and so many of them reached out to me and messaged me, and I was really impressed with her listeners and the community in general, and I'm just so thrilled to have her on the Messy Success Podcast with us today. Ashley is a business and motherhood coach for mom photographers. You know that is very close to my heart. Brand photographer. She's a podcast, a wife, and a homeschool mom. She is passionate about helping other mom photographers confidently step into that role of CEO so that they can not only increase profits, but work less without sacrificing their family or their sanity. And she does this through her podcast and her group coaching program called Side Hustler to CEO. You guys are going to hear all about Ashley and her programs, and thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. And don't forget, if you want to take your community-based marketing to the next level, make sure that you join us inside the Community Builder on Facebook. You can search the Community Builder inside Facebook groups and grab my free guide with 25 different conversation starters to help you 2x your engagement in just 2 weeks. We want your community-based marketing to be as simple as possible. All right, let's go ahead and get started with Ashley. All right. Hey, Ashley. I feel like this podcast episode is so overdue because we had such a great conversation over on your podcast. Oh my gosh, it was a while ago. And I know we kept going back and forth, like, I got to get you on my podcast. And it's finally here after our break. I am so excited. And I told everyone a little bit about you, but I want you to tell us like what you do and who you help.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on here, Elizabeth. This is so fun. So, I'm Ashley Freehan, the founder over at the Purpose Gathering. And as we were talking about before we hit record, I am a multi-passionate mompreneur, as I like to call myself. So, I am juggling all the things over here. So, I am a community founder for the Purpose Gathering. So, essentially, it's an online and in-person membership community for mom photographers. So I specifically love helping the mom who also has a photography business, because I just feel like there is such a different set of not only expectations, but pressures and struggles that we face as moms trying to run businesses as well. So I have such a heart for helping those mamas. And I also have my own podcast, as you know, the Purpose Gathering podcast, which again is really just geared towards helping those moms do business and do motherhood, but without sacrificing their family or their sanity. So that's something that's really important to me. I do brand photography. I'm a homeschooling mama. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Oh my gosh. I just love the parallels though, because I know when we first met, we talked a lot about memberships, and I also had an in-person membership and virtual membership. And for me, it was a little bit messy and bumpy. And I feel like I had this really high, and then the pandemic, trying to figure out how to combine the two. And it really I never was able to get the virtual as powerful as that in person. Did you feel like that with yours?
Oh, absolutely. So I feel like I have done all the things. Like I've tried the online courses, I tried the online membership too, and I just found that it was not for me. And as you mentioned, it was very messy. And in 2020, that was the year that was super pivotal for me because I launched my podcast in March. I ended my in person community because that literally was not allowed anymore. Like we couldn't
Yeah.
gather. And then I pivoted to online and went into trying the course. Didn't love that. So did a membership community. Didn't really love that either. And then switched in my gears and started building a group coaching program. So, literally, and it's come full circle because now I'm back to the in person community. So, I'm doing a little bit of everything right now, honestly, Elizabeth. It's a bit trial and error. I'm in this season of my life right now where I just am experimenting. And it's really weird to say that because I've been in business for 12 years and I'm like, shouldn't I be past the experiment phase? But no, I'm learning that it is such a messy journey. There's ups, there's downs. You go backwards, you go sideways. It's growth is not linear as a business owner.
Well, and I honestly think the best business owners are always in this phase of experimenting and being the scientist of our own experiment and just trusting that all the action that we're taking is creating that clarity. So I love that you're just transparent and open because I am going through some of the same things and it's hard sometimes not to get wrapped up in the like we need to be the expert and we need to be buttoned up and have it all together. But I think the truth about entrepreneurship is like it's freaking messy.
It really is. I totally agree.
I love the name and I love that you have kept your brand and your name the same all these years. Like, I'm like, I got this Shine the Light Society, the Messy Success. Like, I got all these different names like bebopping around in my brand, but I love that yours is just the Purpose Gathering all across the board. So that is something that has stayed very consistent. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came up with the name?
Yes, absolutely. So, when I first started the Purpose Gathering, I honestly didn't want to. Like, I resisted it. I felt this call from God say that I needed to start an in-person community, and I was like, no, 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 like I totally heard that wrong. When I told you I was needing community, like I did not mean that I wanted to lead this community. Like I just want to find it. And I struggled honestly with it for so long, and I resisted, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. Like I heard this wrong. No. But it just, that nudge kept coming back, and I was like, really? Because I felt lonely. Like, I don't know if any of you listening right now, like, can relate to that, but I felt lonely as a mom and a business owner. I didn't have a lot of friends that did both. I had a lot of friends that were moms, but they didn't understand the call of being a business owner. And I had
Mm-hmm.
so many business friends, but they didn't have kids. So I'm like, nobody gets it. Like, nobody understands the unique struggles I face. And I just felt alone. And God kept saying, there's so many people out there like you. Start a community and they will come. And I was just like, no, like, I don't want to do this. That sounds really hard. Like, no. But then one day I was sitting and I was journaling. And this is where I feel like a lot of my aha moments happen, is when I'm just very quiet and I'm just journaling. And I just was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to see what happens. And the word purpose just kept coming to my mind, and like how I want to live my life in every area with purpose. And so I was like, okay, I really love that word, but what would go with that? Like, I don't want to be like the traditional, like, conference or collective, or even though I do like the word collective, I'm coming back to that, as you'll see. But I really was just like, okay, where can I kind of embody what I am feeling in one word? I honestly don't know how gathering came, but it came, and I was like, the Purpose Gathering. And I was like, I could get behind that. Like, that sounds like something I want to be a part of. And so many people have told me that too. Like, the name is intriguing. I just wanted to know what it was. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's how it came.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I know for me, I tried every kind of entrepreneur group in my area and nothing felt right. Like there was so much like bro marketing energy and like I just never felt at home. And I kind of had that same like if you can't find it, create it, kind of mentality. And I'm a mom and I'm a business owner and I understand how freaking hard it is. And I do think that by default, there's such an easy bond there when there's motherhood and business. But you also homeschool your children. And I think I had a very specific time frame where I was home with my kids and working, and I was like, this is insane. Like this was when my husband was fully out of the home, and so I just think you guys in particular who have your kids home, homeschooling, or they're just young in their home is even more challenging and can probably feel even more lonely because I at least have my kids like physically out of the house for a couple hours.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Elizabeth, when you did this homeschool or this time when you were home, was that your choice or was that during COVID when you were forced to?
So, what I'm referring to is actually before COVID because COVID was also incredibly difficult, but we had a village. So, my husband is hybrid. So, he was home and we had his mom helping. So, while it was very difficult, I feel like we were very lucky with the help that we had. So, this particular time was not planned. Our daycare shut down like all of a sudden. And I really struggled finding childcare. And, we were kind of like, well, let's just see how it goes. And it was like crazy hard for me. And I had just quit my teaching job. So I had just gone full time with my business. And now I had to be like full time mom and full time business owner. And my husband like ended up leaving his job. So I was like the breadwinner for 10 weeks. Like it was crazy. And I know that that is not something. I don't want to say it's not something that I'm cut out for because I think as a mom, you always figure it out. But like my mental health, like I really like to keep the containers separate.
Yeah, I totally resonate with all of that. And I do feel like having the choice to homeschool is so different than being forced because
Mm,
during COVID, it was a hot mess for everyone. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like the kids were adjusting. It was strange. My youngest was in kindergarten. So like, can you imagine like learning how to read and count and like all these things online? And our school was very hands off almost. Like it was kind of like, we get this is just crazy and unprecedented. So survive. There was not a lot of schooling happening, but still for that 1 hour per week that my kids were supposed to like be in the classroom, I'm using air quotes, and have the homework assignments all online, it was a nightmare. Like I was like, I don't know how anyone does this. I never want to homeschool. And it wasn't until after, because I put my kids back into public school after that for an entire year. But it wasn't until they were gone that I was like, I really miss them. Like, I
Mm,
miss having time with them because I just felt so rushed after school. It's homework, it's, extracurriculars, it's dinner, it's bath time and bed. And it was just like rinse, repeat every day. We barely got to see our kids. And on the weekends, it was also busy. And I was like, this is not the life I want. And so when you choose to homeschool, it's a much different experience. But I mean, yeah, it's difficult. I can say that for sure. But I've had to
yeah.
get really specific on my schedule when I have actual childcare help, and then when I'm going to be focused, specifically on the business, and when I'm going to be specifically focused on school. So I do have separate containers for that as well, which is the only way that I would survive. But I will tell you, it's an everyday struggle for sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, I know like productivity is definitely one of your jams and an area that you can help people with one on one. And your kids are a little bit older than mine, I think. Remind us of the ages of your kids.
Yeah. So I have an 8-year-old son, and my daughter is 11.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. So that I'm finding my 9-year-old and my almost 7-year-old, like they need me in a very different way now. And I can actually understand that, like wanting to be with them more. And it's so different. Like little kids need us physically, but this middle age like needs us very much emotionally. And it's an interesting transition. But let's talk a little bit about productivity. So what does that look like for you having them home and running your business? Like to me, I'm like, do you work late at night? Like, do you have boundaries? Like, how do you survive? So tell us a little bit in a way that would help everybody else how you structure that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just out to dinner with some girlfriends last night and we were talking about this exactly. They were like, "How do you find the balance?" And I'm like, it's hard. It's hard, but it is all about intentionality. And so at the beginning of each semester, I don't do it per year because it changes so often. And even regularly checking in every quarter is really helpful too when you look at your schedule and you think about what your ideal week looks like. Okay, I have all these different things that I'm interested in, right? All this work that I have to do. And I plug in the time that I want with my family first, and then I leave pockets for my business. And I have come to the conclusion that I can only get done about 12 to 15 hours of work per week. That's what I have allotted. That's what I have childcare for. And that's what I feel comfortable with. because I don't want to work 20 to 30 hours and then still homeschool on top of it, still have time for self-care. It just won't happen without sacrificing my sanity. And so I've
Yeah.
had to get really strategic. And so I have decided that schooling is going to happen when my kids, let me back up. My kids will learn what they need to learn when they're ready to learn it. And this is
Mm.
something that I've really struggled with coming from the school education system, because I do have my degree in elementary ed. Also, we share that. But I have been learning that there's so much that happens in traditional school that is, transitions, quieting the classroom down, going to the bathroom, recess. There's all these really unnecessary like fillers, and the real actual learning doesn't happen in those 7 hours. It's maybe like
Mm.
3 hours of real instruction. And so I gave myself a lot of grace the first year when we were just acclimating to being at home. And now in our second year, I'm like, okay, we're going to do school. We're going to do school on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we're going to have math lessons just on Mondays. So we do math
Mm.
3 days a week. And then on those Tuesdays and Thursdays, I really focus on our gather round curriculum is what it's called, and that is like a unit study. And so that's basically what the term is, gather round, so all the kids can come. Doesn't matter what age they are, they all learn the same information. It's just how they apply it is based differently on their ages. And so that's been really fun. And then we do a Bible study every Tuesday, Thursday also. And then I have different activities sprinkled out throughout the week that are like getting out with friends. We are part of a homeschool group. We have Skillshare, so my kids can go on the computer and like learn a skill that they're interested in. So it's a very fun dynamic. And then I have literal time blocks where I have childcare. My mom comes over once a week. I have a membership to a trampoline park. That's another time block. My kids also go to an enrichment program on Fridays for a whole day. So I have about 5 hours of uninterrupted work time. And then my husband, he works regular hours throughout the week, like 7 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then so on the weekends, I get about a 2 to 3 hour time block too. So again, very limited, 12-ish hours a week. But I just have to get super strategic.
Yeah. When I think 12 to 15 hours a week is great. Like, I think that's a really healthy work-life balance. Like, we don't have to work 40 hours anymore. I think that's hopefully going away. But I know in the entrepreneur space, like, we don't have, I mean, I know sometimes it's like, man, I quit my day job to work 24/7, but I think we are in control of what those boundaries look like. And if you say, I want to work 10 hours a week, like, that's awesome, right? Like, I really try to only work while my kids are at school. And once they're home, I really try to be present. Now, a lot of people on the West Coast, so I do have to make some exceptions 1 or 2 days a week. But yeah, it's really all about being intentional, even in those really small windows of time. And I
Exactly.
know when I was really struggling with the balance the most, and I got in this like client work hamster wheel where it was shoot, edit, deliver. I couldn't do any of my business growth projects. So now that we know a little bit about how you balance your schedule, how do you balance like that whole working in your business versus working on your business stuff?
Oh, yeah, this is so good. So, because so my photography business is like runs on autopilot, which is awesome because that's the dream, right? But these other new avenues that I've, kind of been putting my hands in, the coaching is really where I want to be, and the community. But I also have been kind of experimenting with offering in person photography classes for kids, homeschool or not. But the homeschool has been fun because I can do that during like earlier hours and I don't have to wait till after school. And then I've also been doing workshops for adults. And so trying to balance that is really difficult because I'm growing the business, right? And so I
Mhm.
know a lot of your listeners are there too, where they're like, I am in the weeds of delivering, but I also am growing because I don't have a full client load. And so I feel like the way that I kind of go back and forth again, because that's how business owners work, right? We like try something, it works, and then we're like, okay, are we going to keep doing this or not? But one thing I feel like that has been really helpful that I want to get back to is batching my weeks. I used to batch my days, and that worked really well when I had more consistent hours. But now I batch my weeks. And so I look into my businesses and I say, okay, what do I want to focus on this week? So I might be focusing solely on like visibility and marketing. So what am I going to do this week? So all of the tasks for that week are related to visibility and marketing. And so I'm trying to get ahead so that I have content that I can schedule out for the month at a whole. And then maybe the next week I am focusing more on like email marketing. So what emails can I draft up and schedule for the month to come? And so I really urge your listeners to do the same, where they think about like, okay, I've got client work to do, because we all do, right? But what are those big things, those building blocks in your business that are going to help continually grow your business? That's being consistent, that's getting in front of new audiences, that is, being visible to, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is just being visible to new audiences, because we can show up and nurture our same audience over and over again. But if we're not growing that, if we're not focusing on getting in front of new people, then it's just going to be much slower growth for our business.
Yeah. And when you said that you flipped your priorities of like you put your family schedule in first and then in the cracks you work on your business,
Mhm.
that reminded me of like how I got out of that shoot, edit, deliver, fulfillment like hamster wheel. Is I said, you know what? I'm actually going to build my business growth time blocks first.
Mm,
And
I love
then
that.
the client work is going to get in the cracks because I found I was doing my client work like during my most productive times because I was like, oh, I got to get this gallery delivered or I've got to schedule this coaching client, when really like that stuff's always going to get done because I am who I am and I can edit an entire gallery with like half a brain. So I was
Yes.
like, why am I using my good brain time that should be spent on growth and marketing and visibility, like you said, on client work that I can do in my sleep? And to me, that changed everything because we are dedicated business owners. Like we've proven that. You and I are both in business, I think, over a decade. So I'm not going to slack on client fulfillment. Like I'm just not. So like if we schedule that second and business growth first, like that's okay. And that was so game changing for me. And I love that you did the same thing with like business and life of like, no, life is most important. And that is it's going to get scheduled first because I know I can run my business in the cracks.
Yes, I love that. And I love that it reminds me too of something that I like to teach my coaching clients as well. And that is to, I'm going to lose my train of thought for a second, but so you were talking about prioritizing your business growth first.
Mm-hmm.
And
And then doing like client work second because so many people come to me and they're
oh yeah,
like, I don't
I got
have
it.
time. You got it? Did you remember? Okay, go
Yes.
ahead.
I got it. So, something that I really am so passionate about teaching is the fact that you have to prioritize your time blocks based on how much brain energy you need. So, just like
Mm,
what you were saying, is that I can edit like literally with distractions, but
yeah.
I can't outline a podcast episode. I can't think about marketing. I can't brainstorm other, vendors, complementary vendors that I want to build relationships with when my kids are running around screaming. And so it's really important that we set aside that time specifically to prioritize, okay, how much of my energy am I going to need to do this? Same thing with like phone calls, is like phone calls, you don't really need a lot of brain energy. You don't really need, I mean, I'm talking about like scheduling appointments, not like actual calls with your clients, because that's different. But like trying to figure out, okay, I don't really need a totally quiet house to call and schedule, a doctor's appointment. So
Yeah.
how can you fill those into the cracks where you're not like, okay, I'm not going to just like be productive in my work block just to be productive and check things off. It's like, okay, I got to get strategic about what I'm putting in each of those work blocks to make sure that the most important things are getting done first.
Yeah. Like I would imagine it sounds like Fridays, you have that 5 hour block. Like that's probably like your biggest, most productive, like brain power, time block. So that would
Yes.
be crazy to spend 5 hours editing. right?
Exactly.
It's like a
Yes.
snooze fest in the best way, but a snooze
Right.
fest.
Exactly. Yeah. So I put that definitely where like my kids can go like play upstairs. And then if they need me, it's very easy for me to be interrupted and distracted because it's not something I need, my full attention on 24/7.
Yeah, I love that. Cool. Okay. So I know that productivity is definitely one of your specialties. Is there anything else when you're working with these one-on-one clients or photographers that like totally lights you up? I know I learned very quickly. Like, I don't like teaching people how to use their camera.
Yes.
Right. So, like we said, we kind of learn what we don't like by experimentation. So, what is it that you absolutely love helping people with in this like coaching world?
Yes, that's such a great question. So, I am finding that I nerd out over organization, task management, and building systems. And like, I just thought that everybody loved that. And I'm learning that's not true. So, sometimes I get super wrapped up in the planning of my business. And I'm like, okay, this is so awesome. I have two assistants. And so, I have a marketing director and I have a PR admin assistant. And so I like, I'm so gung ho about like planning my quarter and then breaking it down month by month and then breaking it down week by week and scheduling out the tasks in Asana and like, revamping my ideal week. Like I just like geek out on it. And sometimes I really have to be like, okay, you've done the planning, now do the work,
You
right?
gotta-
Like I think I could plan all day long and like create like awesome like checklists and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, it's time to work.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm the opposite. Like, I'm the queen of like, let me just wing it and do all this work and not really have a plan.
That's funny. I love it. Yeah, see, I didn't know that. I thought everybody else was just as nerdy as me.
Yeah, I had to learn a lot about systems. One of my favorite podcast episodes actually is about like messy systems and how, as this like type B person where like spreadsheets kind of gave me hives, like I had to
Mhm.
really get uncomfortable and learn about systems and repeatable processes, to like get out of a plateau. Um,
Exactly.
so I understand the importance of them, and I find that I thrive when I surround myself with people like you who love the planning part.
I love it. Well, one thing that I realized too was early on in my business, I was very like fly by the seat of my pants. Like, what do I feel like doing today? Like, very emotional. You know what I mean? Like, how do I feel today? And I wasn't always this way. And I don't know what changed, but I think just the feeling that I get from being organized is what I crave, is like
Yeah.
knowing that when I sit down in my very small work block, I know exactly what I'm doing because I have already pre planned my quarter. I have already set up my action plan for the month. And I know specifically what tasks I'm responsible for and what my assistants are responsible for. So I've gone in and I've set due dates and I use Asana. I know that you use ClickUp and there's other ones out there like Trello and Notion and whatever works for you. But Asana, I just recently switched from Trello to Asana because multiple reasons, but I think the biggest one was a Trello was very pretty and I got really wrapped up in like the making it pretty that I was not executing tasks. And in Asana, it's very straightforward. It's like, here's what you need to do, here's when it's due. And that's just all I needed. And so now I'm really loving that Asana is straight to the point. I know exactly what I have to do each day, and I'm the one that assigns it, right? And so I think the most important thing for your listeners to realize, though, is you have to set aside time to do this or it won't work. So,
Yeah.
my Saturday or Sunday work blocks that I was mentioning earlier, that's when I focus on my CEO work. That's when I focus on the planning, the projecting, the few, like looking at the aerial view of the business and saying, okay, where do I want to be next quarter? What do I have to do right now in order to get me there?
Yeah. I love that. And I love that we both kind of used to have this like wing it mentality. And I know I used to
Yeah.
say, like, I'm just really like an intuitive led business owner. And
Hmm.
I do think that's a thing. However, like allowing myself to label myself as that was kind of keeping me safe and keeping me from really exploring what it looks like to be a CEO. And I think I finally realized like being intuitive and being a solopreneur and winging it is only going to get me so far. And I got to like get uncomfortable and learn some of
Yes.
these these systems and things. So I know you were telling me a little bit about what you're currently working on. I think you mentioned something about side hustle to CEO. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So my signature program is called Side Hustler to CEO. And essentially, it's for the mom photographer who maybe has been in business for a year or two, or maybe even five, and just really has never taken it seriously. She doesn't exactly know what she should be doing. She's kind of trying a little bit of everything, doing the trial and error very much so. And so this program walks you step by step exactly what you need to do in, I don't want to call it the right order, but in a sequential order. So it makes sense. Each lesson builds on itself. So you're not here, there, and everywhere. You're focusing on one main thing every 2 weeks and getting that solid before you move to the next lesson. So I've been doing that for a little over a year and I just love it. I love being able to come alongside these moms, not only give them the information they need, but give them the time to implement it, because that's the biggest struggle I feel like. We don't have an information problem right now in this
Yeah.
society. We
Yeah.
have an implementation problem, and we also have a just information overload problem where we get so confused that we don't know what to do, so we do nothing, or we try
Mhm.
too many things at once and then we get burnt out and we're like, see, this is why I don't do this, because it's too hard, I can't do it. And then the self-doubt creeps in. I mean, it's just a perpetual cycle if we're not careful. And so that's what the program does, is it's like, okay, let's cut all the noise. This is what you need to do step by step. And I found that it's so helpful. So many of the mamas that come in are just like, gosh, I wish I would have had this so much, so early on in my business. So it's been really fun and neat to see their growth. And I think the biggest thing that they come out at the end saying is like, you made me feel confident. Like I was able to own my role. I know what I need to do now, and I feel confident and I feel focused. And, it's only the beginning. So I think that's been really, really rewarding for me.
Yeah, and I think the work that you're doing is so important because I know a lot of the moms that I've worked with in the past are like, "Well, my kids come first, and my kids come first." And it's like, we know that. Like every mom like knows that. Like that doesn't need to be like said. And I think you're such a good role model for these moms that really feel like they can't do both or they're not giving themselves permission to do both, but they have that like desire to do more and be more. And I always love to remind moms especially of like we get to show our kids that they can be anything and do anything, and it's not always about choosing them over our passions, because modeling, we all know, is the best parenting skill you can have, and you're modeling for your kids that they get to create their own future and be anything they want to be, and I just think that's so freaking important.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I do feel like I let my kids hold me back in my business growth for so many years. I secretly blamed them. I wouldn't, of course, tell anybody that, but now that I'm on the other side, I feel like it's easier to admit, right? It's easier to say that out loud because I'm like, well, I don't blame them anymore, but I did. It
Yeah.
was really hard for me. I looked at everybody else and their success, and I compared my journey to theirs, and I came to this conclusion, as you mentioned, how you label yourself. I came to this conclusion that I wasn't growing because I had kids and they didn't. And so they
Mm,
had all this time in the world, and that was a lie, and that held me back for so many years, and I wish that someone would have called me out on it and said like,
yeah.
no, 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 you're not growing because you're focusing on everyone else's journey. You're doing what everyone else is doing, and you're not listening to your own intuition. And if you're a believer, like you're not listening to God's call for your life, like you're doing it on your own. And that's why it's not working, because you're just copying everybody. And it was different models, right? Like I tried
Yeah.
everything, and it was just like the principles that I teach in the Side Hustler to CEO are foundational. They're not like one size fits all. It's not like you have to do it this way. And so I think that's what I so lacked at the beginning. And I'm glad that I now know this, but I wish I would have known that my kids were not what was holding me back. I was.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so important. And like, I want to acknowledge you for sharing that because I think there's a lot of moms that's like saying that out loud is like terrifying, right? The fact
Mhm.
that we could be resenting our kids or our situation. And yeah, That's huge. And I'm so glad that you like came to a place where you like realize that like that self-awareness piece is what really helps us next level as CEOs. And
For sure.
there's so many moments. And I do remember very specifically because you and I have both been in the photography industry so long. My best friend Angie and I were like, there are no influencer like level photographers with kids. Like
Mm.
Caitlin James didn't have kids at the time. Jasmine Starr didn't have kids at the time. Like Justin and Mary, like nobody that was kind of in this really big educational space. Amy and Jordan, like anyone you can think of that now does have
Yes.
kids, but they
Right.
didn't. And
Hmm.
Angie and I did. And we were like, we can't relate. Just like you said in the
Yeah.
beginning of the episode, like we could not look at their business model and see ourselves.
Hmm.
And I think it's so important that like now all those women have children, but also that we as moms can be that for somebody else because we didn't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so, there's just such beauty in knowing you're not alone. And that is what I try to bring to everything that I say and everything that I deliver is you think you are, but you're not. And once you realize that and embrace that, that's when real growth happens.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, so good. Okay, so I know you're extremely multi-passionate. This is a very safe space for the multi-passionates. My friend Sharon and I actually did a mastermind for multi-passionate entrepreneurs.
I love
But
it.
tell us like what you're most excited about moving forward as we like enter into 2023. Like, what is the thing that really has you excited?
I am the most excited about my in person community. So, at the time that you're listening to this, it'll probably be either it has already happened or it will be happening soon. But basically, I have decided to do an in person membership style community. So it is going to be so much fun. And I'm the most excited that I am is I think just being in the room with other people who are also mom business owners. Like they don't even have to be photographers. I'm opening this up to anybody who's a mom business owner because I really have this multi passion to not only serve the mom photographer community, but also just the mom business owner in general, because I know that there's not a lot out there specifically for us. And I feel
Yeah.
like there's just something knowing that there's other mamas out there who are driven, who are passionate, and who want both, that gives you that support and encouragement to keep going. So I think
Yeah.
that's what I'm most excited about is just getting all this female energy in the room of mamas who are doing it and like learning from each other. Like I am here for it and I am so pumped and excited and I just want these mamas to feel connected. I want them to find their business bestie. I've been lucky. I know you've been lucky in finding those besties, but not everybody has and I want to be that safe space where they can come and find those people.
Yeah. And you're located in Arizona, right? So if we have any
Yes.
listeners in the area.
East
Okay.
Valley, so like Mesa Gilbert area. Yeah.
Okay. And it's going to be called the Purpose Gathering.
Yeah, I'm actually calling this one the Purpose Gathering Collective. So it's a little different so that people know, okay, this is like a separate community than, her podcast.
Cool. Okay. And tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about what it looks like. Is it once a month? Is it once a week? What does that look like?
So for now, I've decided to have it be once a month. And there's going to be a private Facebook community for members only. And my heart and mission with that community is, or the like Facebook component, is that moms would schedule meetups, co working, play
Mm,
dates, moms' night outs, and really create a environment where it's not just we meet once a month. It's like, hey, how do we cultivate these deep relationships? How can we create more containers to get together? Because I've never met a mom that doesn't want to get together with another mom. Like it's just ingrained in us that we want to have community. And so I want to
yeah.
create more opportunities for that. But at the actual event, it's going to be getting to know you. So there's going to be networking. It's going to be, I call it speed networking because I hate going to networking events and like standing in the corner being like, cool, I know nobody. I don't want to be that awkward person that's like, hey, can I join your conversation? So I set up these like speed networking events, I call it, or like a part of the event. And you find a partner and you have 5 minutes each to answer like 3 to 4 questions. And you leave the event, you leave the meetup having connected personally with 3 people. So it's
Yeah.
not like this weird, awkward conversation where you're just listening and you're like, is someone going to ask me a question? You are paired with someone, you meet someone you've never met, and you'll walk away with 3 new friends. And then, in addition to the networking piece, there'll be a little bit of teaching. I don't want it to be super focused on education because, again, I don't feel like it's an education problem. So I'll be doing a little bit of teaching, and then I also want the members to start teaching too. Give us like a
Yeah.
15-minute talk on something that you've learned or something that's really changed your business. And then we do discussion. So a big part of it is just getting together with a small group, answering questions and learning from each other.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm like this. It's on my decision list to decide if I want to bring back my in person or not. And
Do it.
I know, I keep putting off the decision and putting off the decision because it really was magical. Like everything you're describing is like just so important, and being able to connect with other business owners and moms to be able to have conversations about business. Like I love hanging out with moms because they get it, but like I don't always want to talk about like sleep studies and, like pacifiers and how much are they eating? Like, oh my gosh, like I want to talk business. Like that's my love language. It's
Yeah, for
nice to have
sure.
someone who understands, right? Like the motherhood
Yeah.
piece, but it's nice to have a break from the motherhood piece as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share? Tell us how we can find you and connect with you and all the things.
I just thank you so much for allowing me to come on, and thank you to your listeners for allowing me to speak to them. You can find me over on Instagram or my website at The Purpose Gathering. So purposegathering.com is my website, at The Purpose Gathering is my Instagram, and that is where I hang out. And then I have a Facebook group also called The Purpose Gathering Mamas, which is open for any mom that wants to come in and hang out and find community.
Oh my gosh, I love it. We should definitely bring you in the community builder then and talk about your Facebook group. I don't know that I even realized you had a free Facebook group. So
I
we'll have
do.
to,
Yes, I'd love that.
yeah, we'll have to do that. Um, oh, and Instagram, like, I just love how you show up. Like, now that I know your kids are at home too, oh my gosh, like you show up on Instagram so consistently and so regularly and so authentically. I'm so jaded in the Instagram world lately. It's always good to see that you're still hanging in there.
Well, you're so sweet to say that. And I think this is a true testament that it's funny because if you would ask me if I was consistent, I would say no. If you asked me how my Instagram game was, I would say horrible. Like, it's funny how other people perceive us so differently. And my big thing with Instagram right now is like, I know I want to be more consistent, but I also have to check my heart with like, am I showing up on Instagram to show up, or am I showing up because I really, have value I want to share? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
And
that's a
it's
struggle for
just
all of us.
I agree. And I don't like feeling like I have to play their game. Like, oh my gosh, okay, if I'm going to post a reel, then I need to post like a poll and a slider and go engage with 10 people just to get it seen. And it gets really
Right.
exhausting. Where Facebook groups, like 40% of your group is going to see what you post without having to like fight the algorithm. Like, it just is such a no brainer for me. So that's where I'm usually hanging out in my Facebook groups. But I do
Yeah.
love Instagram. I miss the good old days though.
Yes. Oh man, I agree with you.
I know. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I cannot wait to see what 2023 brings you and your in person membership. And you'll be able to help all those moms with strategic planning and just creative community and networking. So you're the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you guys so much for being here and for listening to the Messy Success Podcast. Don't forget, if you love this podcast, make sure you subscribe, leave us a review, or share it with a friend. It truly means the world to us, and we can continue to show up and serve you guys. There's nothing more that makes me happier. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.